I'm going to go over the text animator here and how to use this. So first off, I need some text. Whenever working in text, you should always have up the action safe, title safe, right? Because we want to stay in the title safe, which is this inner rectangle here. Not these two lines, which is the 4x3 title safe and action safe. We want the 16:9, so that's what we have to adhere to, this outer box, right? So I have the text tool. Here's all the character settings I can have. I am going to type in some text, right? High class. There we go. Because this is a high class demo. Boom tish, right? Corny jokes on the tutorials. So we have our text here and we're ready to use the animator. The animator is down here under text. If we twirl open this layer, we have text. And if we look over here, we have something called animate. This is the animator. I'm going to teach a basic type on is what I'm going to do, right? Which is basic animation. So when you hit animate and to type something on, it's opacity, right? Now, as you look at these, as you can see, we have several similar parameters that we can have on here that are the exact same as in transformation, like anchor point, position, scale, rotation, opacity. A lot of students get confused with opacity, thinking that this is the one we have to do under transformation, but it's not. What we want is the one under the animator 1, right? So when we do that and we hit it, animator 1 opens up. We have something called range selector 1 and opacity. If we twirl open range selector 1, we have something called start, end, and offset, right? I'm going to go ahead and select this, right? And basically what's going on here, if I zoom in here, is that the start is represented by this line here. The end is represented by this line here. And the offset is what's going to make each character animate, right? And because it's at 0, which is the same as the start, it's actually right here. So when we start moving this forward, as you can see, here is the offset moving forward, okay, to the end. Now, when I animate, as you can see, nothing's going on. And that is because I have the opacity set at 100, meaning that nothing's happening because it's fully, it has full consistency. Now, if I want this to happen, what I can do is adjust this to 0, right? This is pretty much where the start is. Whatever parameters we put under here is going to be where it's going to start, and the end is going to be the parameters here set under transformation. So I'm going to have this start at 0, which should make it all disappear. Great. And then I'm going to animate. Let's say from 1 second, I'm going to animate the offset to 3 seconds. I'm going to have it from 0 to 100. And as you can see, what's going to happen is this thing is going to type on in between that, right? And that's really basically the text animator, okay? Animating the offset. Now there's all kinds of parameters that are going on. Well, I guess even before I hit that, I should also say that you could animate the start if you wanted to, right? And you could animate the end if you wanted to, right? But what we're really looking for is the offset, okay? There's lots of ways to use the animator. I'm going to teach you one specific way to do that, and that's animating the offset, okay? Not to be confused with saying offset character offset, right? I'm not asking for that. That's also another common mistake, okay? So instead of a type on, it's more of a fade in, right? Which is cool. But if we want a type on, we can change that. We have this advanced tab, right? And type on for solid would be under smoothness. So if we actually take the smoothness down to 0, we're going to have a solid type on, like someone's typing on a computer screen or a typewriter or something, right? Which may be the effect that we want, right? I am going to just go over some of these other things too. We can have based on, right now it's characters, we can exclude the space where it will not count the space as a character. We can change this thing to words, where we can have one word at a time, right? And if we go up here and make this actually two, oops, let's try that again. We make it 2 lines, we could actually go down here and do lines where we have one line and then the next line. Right, so these are all possibilities of how to do this, right? We can also do things like random order where we have it on, which is interesting. because, well, let's change it from words to characters. Because what that's going to do is that's going to animate individual lines or individual words in different ways, right? We can change the randomness of it by hitting the random seed, which is this guy right there. Don't really want that for this particular thing. Okay. Now the reason I've kept with this kind of fade on effect is because I'm going to add other parameters here. Okay. That really need that. Another thing I'm going to add, like let's say I want to have more than one parameter on the animator. Like let's say I want it to come from something really big into something small. I can add another property here. So I'm going to add scale. And with this thing, I'm going to actually scale it nice and big, right? So that this thing is going to come huge and kind of drop into place. So this is what this looks like now. All right, once again, the starting point is going to be at 1,142% of the original. So it's going to give this falling in kind of 3D effect when we have that. All right, I'm going to go ahead and click down here so we can see it. Right, which is a cool effect. Right, so this is the starting, right? We're starting at 0 opacity and this huge scale, and the ending is what we have here in transform. So like let's say we want to actually make this bigger. What's going to happen? It's still going to keep the same percentages and make it happen. Let's say we want to move this down. Right, this is our ending. This is where we start. Same thing's going to happen. Now, let's say, okay, let's say that we go ahead and we like this, but we want these to actually start more towards the center. We can add yet another property called position, right? We can actually move the position, the Y angle of where it's going to be. So let's say we want it to come kind of straight at us, right? So we have nice 3D. We can move that here. Once again, this is the starting position. This is what this thing's going to look like now. Right? Still, we're having the same keyframes. We're just adjusting the parameters here, and we just have the offset animated from 0 to 100 to have the whole line. Okay? Now, we can do things like we could, I don't know, we could take out opacity, right? We have something like this, but obviously because it's not fading in, we're going to have all those letters up front. So if you run into an issue like that, that's probably why. Okay? There we go. So that's the text animator. And I hope this tutorial has been helpful.